let's start the day with lovely messages for the 5D collective as we have a very different way of interacting with the ascension energies. Thanks to you having that feminine, your body, the heart, the inner child adult, and the mind, your masculine. So divine, divine, and then left is masculine, and right is feminine here at IHP with our lovely spiritual self help for mindful living people. Mindset, mindsight, that's what you do, inner growth, and the wealth of emotions. So we don't have a shame cycle. We don't have no shame, no blame, no fault, no revenge. Those are aspects like regret that get first taken to a good therapist, and then once you're ready, because you have your child parts all seen and soothed and you know how to self-regulate, then you're going to have a good time and actively want to dive into the depths of your emotional plane. So 3D, 4D, they don't. They have layers. They create stories and they distance themselves from that active human being emotional aspect. So their feminine is not online. That's why they get captured by other types of feminines. And we'll talk about that one in the extended on just chit chatting. So these are messages again. The 5D collective, they learn how to wield the ascension energies by applying spiritual self help, mindfulness, mindset, and mindset practices. So we don't talk about ascension like it's some fantasy land. Actively, you're a human being. So when you embody your humanity, thank you, Sadhguru, divinity descends. We don't talk about divinity like the monotheistic entity and source and universe. That's for people who are believers. We are spiritual. Spiritual are more than the believers because we actively have a feeling. It's in my bones. I have faith here. It's an open heart. And those spiritual gifts are just the same as Claire's and our scientists. They all look into energy. So it's all one and the same. The 5D collective, we are married with the feminine, the masculine. They both come together, which is why, whether it's numbers or what is over here, numbers, feelings, it's all one and the same. And actively digits, analogical, we need both. That's why we're channelers, the ones of us who are 5D feminines. And that's, again, later on. So the 5D collective, we embody pure consciousness because we're here to embody it. And once you're grounded in your humanity, it's really fun. It's called the restorative embodiment, self-aware person. Accountable, I get to regulate. Even when I have panic attacks, woohoo! And I don't have to pretend. The ones who pretend, we know who they are. That's why they think that we're toxic positive. We're like, yeah, I can't let you live in my body because I'd have to not, well, that's actively not possible. Unless you want to go to technology and I won't let you use my body. And actively, see, that's the thing. I'm a piece of life besides my body and my emotions and my thoughts, which makes sense to a 5D person, but not in a philosophical way. My name's Maria in this lifetime. I have other names I don't care to find out, but I do know what they are, the lives, a lot of them, as well as my future life and who's in my future life. So again, channeled guidance messages is what I'm bringing to you, by the way. But I want to make sure you know if you're part of our lovely collective. You don't have to be. The 4D, 3D have a lot of fun with pseudo liveness. I know they don't think it's pseudo liveness, but I've seen it. And they have a lot of fun with ancient stories. I like to use different stories, and we don't create stories about our oversoul. They're human beings, and we don't dehumanize that. That would be me. You know what happens when you dehumanize? It's actively to not engage emotionally because the emotion is too much to bear. There's not an emotion that's too much to bear for a feminine. Believe me, it's hilarious. When I found out my heart is a muscle, I was a teenager. I'm like, I can't break. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. And then when people say, but until they do, I'm like, you don't know how to own your sense of self, do you? Wait till you do. Then you'll find out why I know how to say, yeah, you can keep talking. And guess what? Even if, because I already got to deal with my entire herd as a child, yeah, I'm not breakable. Breakable, yes. It's unbreakable. So when you have your child parts is what it looks like. It's an inner child adult here, functional adults. We have fun, and people who don't know how to have fun like this, they don't like us that much. They're like, she's fake, and then they get irritated. So sometimes they come and they want to mess up our castle, but we know how to say, oh, they're just having fun their own way. I'm going to build it again, okay? So that's what we do. We do equanimity, because true feminines don't go around shaming people. Those are the actively false feminines who actively are still masking to feminine because they're still using what is projection for their trust breaks, trauma breaks, and they could take it up in therapy. And then once they're ready to forgive whatever happened, then they come over and say, oh, Jesus, thank you so much for introducing us to the thing called turn the other cheek, forgive them for they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. 5D means Christ consciousness. Put to the side all the stories that they go pick at. I got taught in catechism. I raised my hand. I don't make promises I don't keep. I wasn't told that I needed to be mean to people. I was actively told to be humble, not to play God, and that Jesus gave his life up for us. And I know the Holy Spirit, and it has nothing to do with shaming people. That is actively, well, something that is at a very low vibration. And when people like lusty things in the way of shame, they will actively get on screen, speak it in a scream, allow themselves to actively feel and think because they're wearing a suit and they're eloquent and they have a bunch of degrees. And they actively, those 7 to 14 charming, do have a role to play. There's a higher torial field and a lower torial field. And some people, they don't want to go to good therapy because, like Patrick Tiahan, our lovely childhood trauma survivor, says, yeah, well, hurt people, they could learn in 2024 they don't have to hurt people, but you know what a coward's game is. They don't want to do the emotional lifting. And he says cowardice and cowards. And I say, yes, Patrick, because I agree. Anyone who doesn't want to save their self because they don't want to be their self and because they don't want to hear about updated trauma stuff, they're actively still demonizing, romanticizing, or I don't know, using shame once again instead of knowing trauma. We all have trauma charges. I have mine. Mine just are uncharged because my feminine, I own her. She's right here. It's a heart. You see? I can't prove it to you, but I can prove it to people who understand because they can hear. It's the ones who know what it means to be authentic. They have an ear for it. That's why we have the 714 charming. They have the voice of those are like the sirens, but they don't call to you in a way. You know the story, what was it, Ulysses? Who was the one that basically got to the island, but then he figured it out and he left? Okay, so actively some people choose to stay in areas. It's like Pinocchio on the island. That's called, I don't want to go to good therapy because I'm going to refuse to admit to myself that I have something that is bringing to me human suffering. I'm going to call it life and say it's fucked up and sucks and all this other. So people have plenty of ways to deflect that, which is the healing journey. But FYI, my somatic therapist teachers, they've all told me, because I took a bunch of courses throughout the years and I'm still doing them because I care to help people. So self-help, you still have stuff coming up, just not the window of tolerance that breaks and then you know, so you have a self-aware person doing mindfulness and mindset. If they're not self-aware, then, you know, anyway, so long story short, let me get to. So we embody unconditional love. We also embody pure energy, the whole self, the 3-year-old heart. It's a whole one, no shame button, because either good therapy, reclaim child, learn how to do seeing yourself, soothing, again, safe, secure to be yourself, inner growth mindset applicable, your container, it's all here, and you enjoy doing depth. So we don't dehumanize our oversoul. It's why we don't need to have a saga with our twin flames or soulmates. We actively don't. We learn the feminine. Remember the masculine, it takes them a lifetime. We don't wait. We're already ahead of the game because loving life, you know, I might die tomorrow. So actively, I wake up consciously in my prefrontal cortex and say, ooh, I'm excited for that. I have a whole 3-year-old heart. Hey, Prakriti, my pure energy body. Hey, Purusha, pure unconditional love. These words mean something when you embody them. Yes, it's right here. It's called restorative embodiment, self-aware person with integration of the brain, which, as Dr. Daniel Siegel, in my lovely courses with him, interpersonal neurobiology is one of them, he says integration is a very invigorating. Yes, Dr. Dan, I agree. And now I know why all of that meditation stuff to me is the same, because I'm always in the hub. I'm always bliss. Ask anyone who's like, you're not all, yes. Even when I'm upset. When I'm upset, I'm just learning how to, I've gotten really good with it. The panic attacks, they gave me practice, so I know how to self-regulate. And I know Nutshell Lady, she's really good. She gives a lot of advice, and it's funny how people say, so you're saying we have to put up with it? Well, that's how you expand your window of tolerance and you learn to self-regulate. So you have two options. Some people get on screen and say, well, since humans are fucked up, I'm going to say an avoidant attachment, and you're picking on me. Sounds like teenagers I met who didn't know that we all feel different, but our family still loves us. That's exactly how I answered my teenage friends and how I told myself, are you done whining? Because really, your family loves you. We're all different. That's it. There's no reason to be blue about it. We also will always have all the emotions, but unlike the Zen master who calls it laundry, it's emotion. See, laundry, again, you distanced yourself, Zen master, from sadness. It means you don't know how to work with it from your prefrontal cortex yet, because you haven't put mindfulness and mindset in practice as the emotion arises. So you didn't learn to consistently keep self-regulating, which means open heart, open mind, open God. Hey, we're physically safe. We can go walk, you know? It's like when people tell me that I should get out more when I'm in one of my moments, I say, look, right now is not the time because I need to recalibrate. Then I know when it'll be the time to test myself out because it'll be good enough where I can maintain my window welcome to be around people while I'm struggling inside because I think I'm going to die. No, I feel like I'm going to die. Then my brain, I'm like, just shut up because really, you're wasting my time and the feeling isn't going to go away. It takes about 15-20 minutes for all of it to settle in and actively, like clockwork, there you go. So you get used to your own body. It's a feminine. Again, in my mind is my masculine. See, they're a pair. So when you harmonize, it's because that whole 3-year-old heart, no shame button, unconditional love, pure consciousness. Oh, and then again, mind, heart, body, masculine, feminine, harmonized. So the messages for people who are the 5D collective, they don't bring shame, blame, fault, or revenge, or envy, or jealousy, or spite. All of those are actively part of the human experience. Therapy will help you to resolve it if you want. You, again, don't have to become a functional adult. You can stay like Cusco's and all those other people who are prancing around as an adaptive child and or maladaptive child behavior pattern on the island with Pinocchio, where they actively look at people like me and say that I don't know anything. And I say, yes, I don't. Definitely. So, putting your first house in order so that you may reap the benefits of your second and eighth house with the ability to put down roots involves the alliance of your feminine, heart and body, open, and masculine journey, the mind. So you get left and right. Again, remember, I do divine, but I always change shit up. So just, get used to it for anybody who's new, and you can ask questions. I like answering them out of curiosity. If you're here to ask those types of questions that are basically to teach me, you can teach your own stuff. And I'm not teaching, I'm actually sharing and channeling. But I love when somebody chimes in to try to tell me how to do something. I didn't ask you. It's actively my content creation. So if you do have a better way, then you know what? This is where I can be your muse. So that means, oh, I have a better way to do it. Great. Get on a video and do it. But I do appreciate constructive feedback, which is pseudoscience bullshit, self-help crap. It's not bullshit or crap. It's just pseudoscience, and it's helpful for the ones who understand it, and it's self-help, but it's not crap for the ones who want to be their self. Okay, so that was constructive criticism, not telling me what to do, telling me what the perception of what I'm doing is and how it's not helpful to them. And actively, it was like, you know what? There are people who are not going to find self-help helpful. Like the ones who they say therapy, very beautiful, and then say, I want to do personal development and self-help. So there you go. And that's why the Zen master with laundry is going to be who they get to go tune into, because they're going to want to say, I have laundry. There's other people who are going to go and say, I don't have any feelings at all. Yes, sure, spirituality, soul age group. That's another way of deflecting. It's why we have the toxic negative, toxic positive. It's a way of pretending like teenagers do. I saw them all. I don't have an ego self. I don't have emotions. Yes, you do. They're right here. No, I don't. Okay, fine. So when you have a hole, this is what happens. You're like, sure, Cusco, I'm going to go play with Pachas over there. So your inner and outer harmony as a person is because you can be yourself with your sense of self owned by you. It's very important. Not your parents, not your siblings, not society. You own it. See, these words are not confused. Let me explain. Right now, you have a human being in front of you who has no shame. So if somebody yells at me in my face, and they have, I actually stutter to try and work it out, and I do. That's what 5D does, because I was not offended. My lovely friend, and more than just one friend, that's where I know what dysregulation is. I'm not going to hold a poor human being accountable for not knowing how to regulate their nervous system, especially when they don't know about their psych education. No, they got people who are ignorant who talk to them about evil devils and demons versus good psych education and good therapy. So when you're obliviously oblivious to everything, you got bad examples of information online. Well, I can't hold you accountable yet. What I'm going to do first is actively try to create a relationship. And then I'm going to say, can we talk about what happened? And then if you're a serious person about yourself, you're going to actively want to work on that. And that's only if you have enough space to say, I choose me. That's where the masculine versus I choose to stay in shame and just repeat it all over again. And that's why we have 3D, 4D, by the way, and other soul age groups as well. So that's a side note. Again, we'll talk about it some more. In the meantime, for the 5D collective, again, you're unconsciously loving. Jesus taught us how. Not hard to do. For some people, they get on a journey first, and once they're ready, they come and join us. And then if they don't want to, we're still Pachas and Cuscos together. So we still expand humanity, consciousness, and keep doing what we've been doing for however many eons. And we'll keep doing it. It's beautiful. Yes, harmony. So your crown, third eye, heart chakra, they have all been activated and upgraded, and that is to begin the next step of your journey. Functional adult love language is your chosen modality of communication. Transformation in moments of darkness unknown, you don't dysregulate. And so whenever something's happening, unless it's physical, you still don't dysregulate. Actively, if there's a physical threat, your body's going to be in the fight, flight, whatever response instinctively to protect you. This regulation comes from people who don't know how to self regulate, and those are the adaptive child and maladaptive. So, between drugs, fucking, drinking, and then having shame and disgust and all this stuff, to basically unhealthy patterns of lifestyle, to actively being revengeful and resentful, and so many things that have nothing to do with Lucifer. They're all unresolved trauma, codependent human beings who had the unfortunate business of not finding out that they have an option, which is called sensory motor and or somatics, EMDR, and child parts work. Good therapists, that too. We want to make sure they know the good ones. Don't romanticize it, please. That will slow them down. Don't demonize it, please, because that really is unnecessary. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be room for 3D, 4D, because that's that balance that a feminine knows about. Our masculines make sure we know about it. We know about it. I know what year it is. It's a good year. So my lovely fight flight, mine is used really effectively. The panic attacks are a side note that we can talk about, but here's where it's not something that is going to have to be specific, because when you're flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brain, you're consistently conscious, which is why you consistently change, which is why you consistently don't feel change. So it's like more of today I got 24 hours, I'm in the now, I'm actively in the now right now. And that's because I can use both sides of my brain together. My ego and self are friends, and there's no inner critic, outer critic. So when you own your sense of self, again, you don't dysregulate because you know what's happening in here, and you want to bring your best behavior because you know you're with another person. So you don't do humbug, because also life is short, and also splinters. There's not a splinter that you can't handle, because splinters really just mean that we're misaligned. Doesn't mean you're an energy vampire, dark or no. So again, as you get yelled at in the face, you don't take offense. You actively are caring. I'm a feminine. Remember, the feminine nurtures. We can always make with what's due, which is why we actively get to where we're meant to be sooner than later. And that's why we don't wait for anyone to figure it out, because we find out that masculines like to hit their head really hard. It's unfortunate business. So we're not actively in pain to start anything new. No, we are actively in pain watching a human being and more that you will love bang their head against the wall again, doing what is called unresolved trauma. I'm just going to say it. We don't wait around. We're happy that people don't text us back, and we're happy that we find out good information, and we're not ashamed of anyone, because I don't have shame for humanity. For our ancestors would kick us out in the jungle. You're all alone. Shame was born. Oh my gosh. Like, that is so unbelievable. I can't believe it. I'd rather believe that there's some Lucifer demon somewhere that's going to be. So you want a monster or you want the actual truth, and that doesn't cancel faith. Can't disprove God, because God is part of faith. You can't disprove faith because it's inside of us. And those of us who are of faith, we know exactly what it is, and it has no words. It has a feeling. It doesn't even have to have a sound, but it does have a vibration. And it is that of bliss, love. It has no, I'm going to call it, it's the essence of love and life, and it is what we embody and form. And that's because of being able to be a restorative, embodied self, aware, accountable, and regulating person who's in their homeostasis, which is every person's mammalian heritage. So that's something sacred that was lost. We don't have to talk about a fallen angel. You actively can have a self-loathing button. It's called shame, because your first year of life, no secure attachment, and you don't own yourself until you get home to yourself. So good therapist Patrick Tian helps people to get to own their self, and then if you're ever ready, you forgive that which happened to you here on planet Earth. Please, let's stop with the past lives. I do Akashic record readings. You know how many people waste all of that consulting because they don't actively take seriously who they are, humanly speaking? Yeah. You should watch how they are able to make sense of things like toxic relationships with, again, smart therapists will let you know on it. Then when you're seeing it, you're like, wow, that's amazing. I need to remember to shut my mouth and leave it alone, because it ain't none of my business, since, again, masculines will present to us who they have on a pedestal and that they know everything. Again, adoptive child, those type of people, not partners. They're not partners. They have boxing gloves. They got chit chatter. They know everything. It's unbridled self expression. It's a martyr, superior blamer, and it's a codependent human being who doesn't know how to regulate. They actively, while they're acting, and they don't even know that that's a false sense of self. And so, again, a lot of different layers until they have the will to heal, which means say, oh, wait, you know what? I'm not growing any younger right now inside. I feel not, and you can tell. But the excuse is we're all fucked up, so I'm just going to keep torture inside my body. That's avoidant attachment lady on screen, making it her mission to make sure we know about avoidance versus going to keep on doing journaling, meditation, mindfulness, and therapy. And the excuse is because we're picking on avoidance and because everybody's fucked up. So when a feminine sees somebody giving up on their inner child, that's why we're like, good, Patrick, it's great that you're out there sharing with them what a cowardice is, because they're not saving the very same inner child that saved them and was adapting to their environment not to become that. And actively, the child is trying to save and create a happy home. Emotionally, that child is dysregulated, but he or she or they is trying to say, I want to have unconditional love in my home. That's why we understand deflecting. I would never go up to anyone and say, hey, let me tell you. That also is the job only of those who don't know what a feminine is and what a adult is. And it's not about manipulating either, because some people think to manipulate. No, I love, accept, and respect you. I'm not here to affect your state of consciousness. That actively is me trying to meddle with your free will. You see, it's a very clear slate what free will is. It is I present you education information that I can, if I do have it. That's it. I let it go. Not hard to do. Vibing at love's frequency with Gaia is the 5D collective's area of expertise, a human's infinite higher human conscious potential experience that's through you being yourself, and that's authentically as an inner child adult, with or without clairs. You don't have to be a channeler or any of that. So we do mindful and spiritual in our day-to-day life, thanks to being self-aware, accountable, and regulating through the wisdom of the body, the heart, and the mind. So our feminine and masculine, they work together, that function as one, again, through that unconditional love that you can have. So you unconditionally love yourself and others with flaws, imperfections. And that's also because we can work it out. We can work it out. So the communication is when you have the capacity to say thoughts, emotions, what's going on, my assumptions, my stuff, subjective experiences. And with that, let me share with you one more stop shop. Our lovely Sadhguru today shared this thing. It's really nice. I shared it on Instagram. The significance of a teacher is not just to rattle off information, but to inspire and enhance each student as a human being. And he also shares, there is no greater teacher than life. However, he doesn't understand what the first 3 years of life have and how that impacts, because he knows what he's doing. And that's great. And that's why he's spirituality. Enlightenment, soul age people, we tend to move beyond belief systems, which is why, as I said, faith. It's a feeling, no words, and I have plenty of past that comes with me. And my catechism, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and God is what I started with, and then I expanded because I got clairs. And I knew that it wasn't going to be calling me something that's totally disrespectful to the times of those who existed. So I take seriously those who were prior to me. And that is humanly speaking. You see, it's not a story for the person who knows what history is, even though I don't remember it all. Only the pseudo-life people like to dress up. They have a false sense of self because they never went home to claim their real self, because they're still trying to save their self, and that's why they like superheroes and supervillains. And I shouldn't say likes, but then again, that's actively how they will twist and turn things. So imagine someone treating a kind human being like a piece of shit and actively making them out to be an angel and then demon, and switching it up as it goes, and never once speaking a mouth or once having the courage to say to somebody, I think this about you, and then to have an actual face-off. You see, you ask the feminine what I am always aware of the masculines, they don't know how to face you. And that's because of shame. It's an unfortunate business when a person doesn't claim their self, and a feminine is humbled by what? By sciences. We're humbled by sciences. Because at the end of the day, you do know what the integrity of a person is, meaning pacha, that's integrity. not lying, not deceiving, not any. But once you figure out that a person in their biological rudeness has no capacity to be present, they have a little free will, it's after the fact. And so once you have done something that you will feel that you didn't do right, shame, that's the minute that you say, I want to repent. I will repent from the heart. I will learn from my mistake and I will not identify with it. Healing is a very straightforward process when you have your emotions and thoughts and you remain human. So the minute that you, with your free will, choose to disregard the fact of how you will have treated someone, to take accountability by having an actual conversation, and then by actively regulating yourself in the conversation to hear all of what one has to say, okay? A feminine doesn't have fear because we have feelings and we know how to run with them. So I know with my nervous system if I'm in any physical threat, and if I'm not, then I'm cool. I can sit as you're shouting at me. And if I'm in a physical threat, I won't be there. I'll be running out. I will, the minute my body says, alert, this is physical danger, I'm going to be somewhere. So again, it's not a competition. These are just examples. But what I was trying to get to is we don't actively try to face cowards. It's unfortunate for people that don't heal themselves because then they repeat what is karma, and they even want to use words that they don't know what they're using, and the 4D's all over it with Lucifer and calling New Age people. So we're going to keep talking about this in a little bit. Meantime, becoming aware to the wisdom of the body, that's only going to happen if you are actively owning your 0-1-year-old attached panicky, 3 to 7 shame submissive, freeze of all ages, flight 11, 12, and fight 14, 15, 16. Thank you, Sue Martin, my teacher, and all my trauma courses. So once you get that and you're in your prefrontal cortex, then you'll know how to do mindfulness, mindsight, and mindset, and actively make use of that which are, if you have clairs, of that which is your actual body, and then maybe one day your life. And I say one day because, again, like Patrick Tiahan points out, before anyone who has had childhood trauma in a way that has impacted their life, where they've made so many mistakes with that false sense of self, it will take some time to have pain and grieve and then connect to that emotional body. It's why we have different soul age groups. It's why we have different 3D, 4D. The state of consciousness is yours, and your body holds a lot of stuff when it has gone through. So there's also a process of integration, and people who don't like to hear about the process, they want a shortcut. Human being adults in class asking for shortcuts makes me feel like I was a teenager again with people who didn't know how to read directions. And I'm not perfect, but I know when I'm learning from a subject matter expert, and then I learn when they explain to me math. Even though I'm bad in math, I still know 6 to 8 weeks for one little neurosynapses to connect. Then myelin needs to lay out, so you're explaining to me something of the brain and how it works, and I know you know what you're talking about. And I say, excuse me, I want 3 years to heal DID and disorganized attachment. I don't want 6 years. I want less. They just explain to you how integration works. You obviously can't hear. No, you didn't hear what you wanted to hear. The minute that you have a person in the room like that, you got an adaptive child who's in there with an agenda. The agenda is, I want something not for the benefit of all. If it was for the benefit of all, then you'd say, okay. So I now know that integration is a long process. I now know that for a person to want to get out of that hell of a body, it's going to take a time. I now know that that will to heal is very important, and that is actively why a person will share with you empowering information. We won't inspire you in a way of motivating. No, here's the deal. You get to choose. That's your free will. So once you have made your choice, we don't say because you have emotional triggers, we're going to, no, there's always going to be that balance. But the balance is where we also want to understand that we're just now accumulating all of this information, which is why some people are like, why are you always talking about trauma? And then we have others like, my trauma, so let's get it all together. Here we are. And welcome. So that's where we're at. It's really nice. The year 2024, I knew it was going to be a good ride. Now I know exactly where we're headed. So we'll see you again soon. If you tune in later, like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for stopping by.